Welcome to the Fruity Knitting Podcast. I'm Andrew.
And I'm Andrea. And this is a knitting podcast where we also feature interviews with various different fibre artists. So yarn dyers and knitwear designers and yarn producers and sheep farmers.
And knitters.
And inspiring knitters, exactly. So if you're a returning viewer, you'll notice that this format of this episode is very different from our normal episodes. And that's because we are going to share with you a little bit of the journey behind Fruity Knitting and also to ask for your support. And if you're a new viewer, thank you for checking us out. And if you'd like to see how our episodes normally run and get a feel for them, then we suggest that you go back and watch our previous ones. And our last episode was episode 14. But of course, you're most welcome to stick around and watch this one as well. So just to be upfront with you, we are here to ask for your financial support. But before that, we just want to show and share with you a little bit about the journey for us, how it's been for us making the Fruity Knitting podcast.
Yep. So we've covered 14 episodes.
14 episodes.
Over about 6 months, or 6 months they've been out. We worked on it for some time before we released the first episode.
Yeah, that's true. So I suppose for me, it started about 3 or 4 years ago when I was going through a stage of having a lot of difficult health problems. And it was mainly with my digestive system, but it was really affecting my ability to sing and perform and teach. And because that's what I'm trained to do, that was a really, really emotionally difficult and trying time for me, to say the least. I found it very deeply disturbing that I couldn't sing, and for at least 2 years, there didn't seem to be a solution to my health problems in sight. So I actually started to get back into my knitting in a very intense way, mainly to take my mind off just being really my depressive thoughts and feelings of real deep despair. It was just great to use my knitting to, I'm thinking
Take your mind off things, I think.
Yeah.
And keep you busy.
Absolutely. And it was great. It was a saviour for that. And so when I was doing that, I was often searching on YouTube because at that time, I didn't know anything about knitting podcasts, but I was constantly searching on YouTube to find any interview or footage on anything knitting or fibre related, so any fibre artist or whatever. So I'd spend quite a lot of time searching, and I'd find 5 minutes here or 5 minutes there of some interesting interview or footage, which was great. But I was really looking for something longer because it just meant that I had to keep putting my knitting down and then spend the following 10 minutes trying to search for something else, which I'd really be thrilled about, and I'd watch it for 5 minutes and then I have to put my knitting down again. So actually what I was looking for was a knitting television channel.
Which you didn't really find.
Which I didn't find, no. But sometime after that, I later stumbled across the knitting podcast format. And I think when I saw that, my desire to have access to a continuous series of knitting-related documentaries or interviews first became the idea, well, why don't I try to make myself what I'm actually really trying to find? And so that's when the first ideas came into my head. But because I'm a musician, so I studied piano performance. I did my degree in piano performance, and then after that I did further studies in voice. I've actually spent my whole life practicing music. So I haven't worked at a desk job, and I am a dinosaur, or was a dinosaur, with computers. I was very much anti anything to do with technical. I had no interest in it whatsoever. So I really came kicking and screaming to the job of filming and editing a podcast. And there is no way I would have done it or been able to do it without the enormous help from Andrew.
Yeah. On my side, my background is actually in IT, so in computing. I don't work in computing anymore. I haven't worked in computing for quite some time, but I can get around a computer. And actually, when Andrea was performing as a musician, I was also involved in the technical side of that, so handling the sound to some extent, and always as a dedicated amateur, but handling the sound when she performed sometimes, and also doing recordings and recording backup tapes and that sort of thing. So yeah, getting on top of the editing for the podcast was kind of okay for me. I have to say I'm really impressed at how Andrea has been able to take on the editing. It's not something that she falls into naturally, but she's managed to get on top of the tools that we use. And
I like the creative side. I've really enjoyed splicing it together and finding fantastic music that I hope sort of represents the essence of the person who I've interviewed or whatever, out of the limited range that you can find that's copyright. That's not copyright, that's free. So that's been a real challenge. But those things I really love doing. But the actual how to understand a program and the nitty gritty technical side of it.
Yeah, so really the way it's kind of worked is I figure out how something has to be done, whether it's merging two videos or whatever, putting two things on top of the other, and then I explain it to Andrea and maybe again, and then Andrea does it, right?
Then I write it down and I learn it,
so I haven't got time to actually do this, but if Andrea hadn't been able to figure that out and take that on, we couldn't have done this at all.
Yeah. So it has been a huge learning curve for both of us, actually, but it's been a really exciting learning curve as well. Yeah. I've totally loved having Andrew on the couch with me.
That sounds good.
No, it's been a lot of fun being able to work together as a team. I think we make a really great team as experienced knitter and
less experienced.
Yeah.
But I have done sticking now.
Well, you've cut my sticks, yes. But Andrew does interrupt me quite a bit when I've got my
You're doing
thoughts.
the heavy technical stuff.
Yeah. And he does derail me for a moment, but I do think his questions are good because they're not obvious to me as an experienced knitter, but they're probably really helpful for a newbie knitter. So we can kind of present both worlds, can't we?
Yeah. I think, I'm here as the sidekick. There's no secret about that. I think it must be, if you look at solo podcasters, it's a really different thing. And it probably suits some people, but I think it's nice for you to have some company.
Yeah, it's lovely to have company, and especially to have my husband. A few of you have said that you would love to have your husband's knitting. Maybe Andrew will encourage or motivate some husbands to knit or maybe take a more interested view in your knitting, who knows. But it has certainly been fun for me to have Andrew here, and I really, really appreciate that. It's also been a really great experience to work on a project together that we both have the same level of interest and dedication to the success of this podcast, and to share that has been fun. And it actually reminds me of when you have a child. When you first have a child, you realise that both of you love this child and are dedicated to this child more than anybody else in the world until the child grows up and has its own partner. But so you both have got this long-term invested interest in the well-being of this person equally, and that creates a really beautiful bond. And of course, the child is more important than a podcast, but it's sort of a similar thing. It's fun to work together knowing that you're both very dedicated to the success of the same thing, and that's been a really good experience.
Yeah.
It's also been a really huge privilege to be able to meet and talk and prepare interviews with some extremely inspiring and lovely people that we've met. And that's really enriched our lives over the last 6 months, way more than I imagined it would, and you as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really, really touching, and a really big thing for us to have met these people. I talk again. I do the little technical bits. Andrea gets to do the big chat, but to meet them even in that way, and to bring them out into the world as far as we do, they're obviously out there in some way already. But to let them share themselves with our viewers is really nice to be able to do that.
Yeah, and it's been great to what I try to do is find the special story behind each person that I'm interviewing. So we've interviewed so far some really well-known people, but also some unknown people. And what I find really interesting and exciting is to try to find the special story that person has, and then to condense it and put it in a time frame so that it can be shared with you guys, and it's an interesting and has an interesting flow to it. So that has been a new skill that I've been learning to do, and I've been finding it getting a lot of satisfaction from doing that. But it does take a huge amount of effort and time and organisation to do that.
Yeah, I think that's something that we don't show, but these are not spontaneous chats.
No, there's a lot of preparation beforehand first of all, to search for the guest, and then communicating back and forth, and then initial talks and discuss to find out, what is really good content to try to put into an interview, and then to present it, and then of course all of the editing afterwards. But like I said, we've interviewed some very well-known people and also some unknown people, and I really love hearing about their passion and their stories, and we think the knitting community is an extremely special place, and that there is a whole lot more brilliant and inspiring stories out there that we really want to bring to you. And we're super keen to be able to do that. So that brings us on to the workload. And if we told you how much work goes into this, I think most of you would probably be pretty shocked. It's we've really tried to keep the podcast content rich and the episodes very interesting. And in order to produce the podcast with all the different segments that we include, it's meant that I've had to work 7 days a week, including evenings, for the last 6 months. So I've been fitting in all of the editing and the organising and the interviews and the Knitters of the World and all the rest of it around my normal working week. And that's meant that I don't work full time as it is, but I still, to fit all of that in, that means that I'm working full time evenings and weekends. And we were really happy to do this because I think we wanted to test the idea first. We wanted to see, can we produce something that we're really proud of, that we think's got good value to the knitting community, that our viewers are going to appreciate or think is good. And we've had some tremendous feedback from you guys, really encouraging, and we're so appreciative and grateful for that. So thank you. But that's also encouraged us to think, what we're producing is good and of good value. And so that's been fine to do that in a 6 months time frame to test it. But it's obviously not a sustainable life. I can't keep doing it. And on top of me working so hard, Andrew has a full-time job, but he's also worked hard to help support me on the technical side. When Madeline was young, I was a stay-at-home mum for most of the time, and that was really great for her, and it made our life a lot sort of easier or gentler in a way. But it does mean that I need to work now. So, to help pay the bills. So what I would like to do is to be able to cut down on my teaching work, drastically reduce it, and focus on the podcast. But in order to do that, we really need your financial support for that. And but I'm really keen to do that and really excited to do that. So hopefully that's something that you want as well.
We've been looking into options to essentially earn some money out of the podcast. One of the options that you're probably familiar with is YouTube advertising. We looked into that, and what we found was that in general, what you can expect to earn as a producer, so a creator of a video like us, is something between $2 and $5 per 1,000 views. If you look at the number of views that we get, you can see that simply doesn't bring in enough money for us to survive. Another option is direct sponsorship, so getting some company like a yarn producer or a knitting needle manufacturer or some product manufacturer to support us, and we do some sort of ad in each episode for them. I think that is less obtrusive. It's not as ugly as the YouTube ad. But again, I don't think it would bring in enough money for us to survive given our viewer numbers. And we also like being independent. What we did find, we've seen this around the place, it's a platform called Patreon. Patreon is a platform to allow fans to support a creator through regular financial payments. It was the platform itself was created by a musician who knew that he was working in a band. He knew that his fans wanted to support the band, but they had no easy way of doing it. People were giving donations and whatever. So he actually set this platform up for himself, and he saw that it was a good thing, and he's made it available to any producers or any creators like us. So the way it works is you can become a patron of a creator or a show and agree to make a regular contribution. Monthly. What we've set up is it starts at $5 per month, so about $2.50 per episode. And there are some other payments that have to come out of that. We have to pay tax on that money. There's a processing fee from Patreon itself. But essentially the money simply goes from the fan to the creator. And I find that a really good model. We're not depending on you buying anything or, clicking on ads or anything like that. It's simply saying, we like what you're doing and, here's what we're prepared to put in towards it.
So we're really asking you, if you value the show, could you become a patron of the Fruity Knitting podcast?
Yep. We have worked out some rewards for our patrons. There are different levels of patronage. All the details are on patreon.com/fruityknitting. You can look at it. We think it's really cute.
Yeah.
We put effort into that and
we're proud of it.
We're proud of it.
But we'll also put the link in the screen so that you can go there and find out more information about it and read what we've got on our page and in the show notes below and on the normal place at fruityknitting.com. So the rewards we've worked out for you, we're excited about. And while they do take effort for us to keep managing so that you find them of good value to you, we do want to stress that our main effort and concentration is to keep making the podcast episodes with all of their segments content rich and interesting and keep it free and available for everybody to see. So that means also that any more videos and tutorials that I will put out, we don't want to keep for the patrons only. We want to keep it for everybody to be able to see and share.
Yeah. So have a look at the rewards there. I think they're fun. It's a chance for us to get a little bit closer and to say really clearly thank you for your direct support of us, which we need. And that's all on the page there. And if financial support is just not your thing right now, for whatever reason, it doesn't work in your budget or you're just not that motivated or whatever, you don't believe in it, that's okay.
Keep watching.
We
enjoying
really,
the show.
Absolutely. Watch the show, enjoy the show. We love our viewers. Without the viewers, it doesn't make any sense. We really love the feedback that we get from you. So, yeah. And everything stays open, okay? Patrons are great. Viewers are essential. Yep.
Yeah. So I want to say also thank you if you're still with us at the end of all of this long discussion. Thank you very much for giving us your time and considering supporting us. That means a lot to us. You won't have to wait another 2 weeks before the normal podcast comes out. We're going to be recording the following weekend, this coming weekend. That means there'll only be one more week till episode 15 comes out. And in that episode, we have got a great interview. I've so enjoyed interviewing the Argentinian designer, Jorge Locatelli, and I think you're really going to enjoy it. And I've also not only just ideas, but in the pipeline already starting to happen and being organised are some other really great interviews with people that you're really going to want to find out more about. So we love doing this. I hope you love it too and are able to support us financially. That would be great. So thank you very much for your time, for watching us and your support.
Yep. Thank you for watching us today, and we will be back in 1 week.
Bye.